What is WordPress headless? Or what is headless WordPress? That's the question. So, we finally were able to release our first website that is a headless WordPress instance, and we're using Next.js and GraphQL to make those connections. So let's just dive in. I'm going to show you the site that we just launched. So this is Georgia Department of Education, their main website, and it is pretty fast. If I click around here and there, it should be. That was a little slow, but I mean overall it should be fast. And check this out. This is what makes headless pretty awesome. Watch how clicking through this, how quickly I can go from page to page to page to page to page. Another example, let's see, careers page. I can just click here, and this is basically instantaneous. And how does that work? Well, let me show you. So if I hit inspect here, it's going to change things just a little bit. Let's make this a little bit bigger. All right, and we're going to hit network. So now when I put my mouse over stuff is happening. So I'm going to put my mouse over here on the menu here and watch what happens. Notice there's a employee retirement.json file on the right that was just loaded, and see how I put my mouse over it and it's grabbing something. What is it grabbing? Well, that JSON feed is basically this information. So before you even click on the page that you want to go to, basically you put your mouse over it, it hovers, and it pulls the JSON feed. So once I click on it, that information is already pulled. So it makes the site, in theory, wicked fast. So, oh, well, bad example. That's, let's see we can find something. Here we go. This is hopefully going to be a good example. Yeah, so I can click from here and see how quickly this changes. This is headless WordPress, where we have basically two things going on. We have a front end and a back end. The back end is running WordPress, and as WordPress doesn't really know what's going on, it knows that it's a headless WordPress, but that's just because we have some plugins in there. But I mean, you could log in and look and not really know until you look at the front end that, oh, there's something else is going on. So we'll set up a WordPress install for the back end, and then a Next.js site or server for the front end, and it just does basically JSON calls, JavaScript calls to pull in the information, and that's why the site is crazy fast. So my hope is in the future to do more and more WordPress headless WordPress sites, because they really are fast. The downside of headless is that if I wanted to use, I'm trying to think of an example, but let's say I wanted to put an LMS instance in here. On the back end, we could install whatever LMS plugin we want, and it works. But on the front end, to display any of that information, we would have to basically build the connections between whatever data that the LMS is generating, so, or whatever the code that it needs. So that's why headless is really cool. But this site is basically a informational site. Therefore, we didn't need to do a ton of functionality. We do have a contact form, I think, and a sign up, but overall, it's a pretty simple site. And we needed that information to be really fast. Really, what we really needed when we built this site was a way for the Georgia Department of Education to be able to have a library of information that doesn't, that lasts 10, 15, maybe 20 years. So in this case, we have built a backend and the front end could be rebuilt in what, 3 or 4 years if something changes, and it could also just use the GraphQL to pull that information. It could be a headless WordPress also. And so the front end it's kind of decoupling the front end and the back end here. So we could in a few years rebuild something that's going to be the newer, better, awesome, framework, whatever that is. And the department doesn't have to go all the way back to kind of the beginning and have to rebuild everything. They can just have a library of good information, and then when it's time, replace it with whatever front end. So anyway, that's Headless. I'm super excited that the site is launched. I'd love to know your comments and let me know what you guys think about the speed on the site, clicking around on there. Please make a comment and let me know. All right, thanks.